Let's talk about 6 apologetics books that you ought to have on your shelf. We are all called by Scripture to be prepared to give a defense for the hope that is within us. And apologetics is just that. It comes from a word that means to give a defense. Now, these resources will equip you with not only the information you need, but also the mindset that's needed to articulate the truth claims of Christianity to others, even if they're skeptics. So I'm going to recommend 6 apologetics books that I think you would get a lot of mileage out of. Now, whenever you put out a list of books, particularly apologetics books, a lot of people come out of the woodwork to let you know why this book is terrible and this book is better. Feel free to be that person in the comments section. In fact, I welcome your recommendations and hope that you do include them. But a little background here, this is part of a larger resource I have called the 5-Foot Bookshelf. And the intent of this resource is to give a Christian a list of books that if they had limited shelf space and a limited budget, that would give them everything they need for a well-rounded bookshelf in things like theology, biblical studies, apologetics, Christian literature, Christian living, and a whole lot more. So the purpose of these recommendations are to, in the smallest amount of shelf space possible, give someone a solid apologetics library that would help them and that they could return to again and again to study more about how they can successfully defend their faith and articulate it to others. So that being said, let's look at these 6 resources that I recommend people have on their shelves. First, we have New Evidence That Demands a Verdict by Josh and Sean McDowell. Now, this is the updated and expanded edition. I recommend you get that, even if you have an older edition on your shelf already. Now, McDowell's comprehensive book offers well-researched arguments defending the truth claims of Christianity. This updated edition includes more evidence and responses to recent critiques. It makes it a valuable resource for Christians seeking to strengthen their faith and their apologetic approach. So it's not so much a book that you read cover to cover. You can use this more as a resource. For example, if I open to a random page here, we see that we could have a chapter on the historicity of the Exodus. Or, yet another random page, we see they're talking about the resurrection. Is it a hoax or is it history? And it gives you resources that you can use to better understand arguments against the Christian truth as explained in the Bible and defend that truth to others. Another book I recommend in the realm of apologetics is The Historical Reliability of the Gospels. This is by Craig Blomberg. Now, Blomberg's book examines and refutes skeptical criticism about the reliability of the Gospels. Blomberg gives readers reasons why we can trust these accounts about Jesus' life, his death, and resurrection, and his work on defending the reality of the resurrection is especially helpful. As the Apostle Paul says, that everything that we claim about the Christian faith, it all hinges on whether or not Jesus really rose from the dead. Now, of course, by faith, we know that to be true, and the historical reliability of the Gospels will help you to defend that truth claim and explain it to others in the face of criticism that really has been around since the time of Jesus' resurrection itself. His work on defending the reality of the resurrection of Jesus is especially helpful because, as you already know, the entirety of the Christian faith hinges on whether or not Jesus truly rose from the dead. So if you want to have a better understanding of how you can defend the gospel accounts, particularly the account of the resurrection, I recommend you pick up The Historical Reliability of the Gospels. Next, let's look at Tactics by Greg Koukl. Now, in Tactics, Koukl provides practical strategies for defending the Christian faith in everyday conversations. This book is highly recommended for anyone that's looking for accessible and effective ways to discuss their faith with others. It's subtitled A Game Plan for Discussing Your Christian Convictions, and it really is just that. Unlike some of the other recommendations, this isn't so much about facts and information that you need to learn and memorize and have on hand in conversations. It's more about how to have the conversations themselves and how you can stay in the driver's seat even if the other person you're talking with becomes hostile or is an extreme skeptic, for example. This is far and away my most recommended apologetics book. I strongly suggest that you have a copy of the book Tactics. Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis. Now, in Mere Christianity, Lewis presents a series of arguments for the existence and nature of God, as well as the fundamental principles for the Christian faith. This is a classic for a reason, and it's commonly considered a must-read for every believer. So I think you ought to have and ought to read a copy of Mere Christianity. Next up, another reference book. This is Kingdom of Cults by Walter Martin. This is a comprehensive reference book that critically examines a broad range of modern religious movements and cults. It scrutinizes their beliefs and practices and influences, and it provides you with an understanding of these groups within a Christian theological context. So if you are engaging with someone from another religion or from some sect of Christianity that's really not Christianity at all, you can turn to this book to better understand how it differs from what the Bible teaches, and it gives you ammunition in that conversation so that you can point to some actual facts and point to the truth of the Bible. Lastly, let's talk about the big book of Christian Apologetics, an A to Z guide. This is by Norman Geisler. Now, this book covers key terms and concepts and people in the field of Christian apologetics, and Geisler's scholarly yet accessible writing explains challenging theological and philosophical and historical issues, making it an excellent tool for both beginners and experts in Christian apologetics. So I recommend you get a copy of the big book of Christian Apologetics. Now, in recommending these apologetics resources, I'm not giving a blanket endorsement of everything that these authors believe theologically. I know I have differences with them in some areas, and you likely will as well. Now, that being said, for those with a limited budget and limited shelf space, I believe that these 6 books will give you a strong set of apologetics resources that you can turn to again and again for help in giving a reason for the hope that is within you. For my other book recommendations, I suggest you go to reasonabletheology.org/bookshelf, and you can see what I recommend in other categories as well. So there you have it, 6 apologetics books that I recommend you add to your bookshelf. Hey, thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing to the channel and, more importantly, sharing this video with a friend who you think would get something out of it. You can find additional resources at reasonabletheology.org.